Hi my little shardies, welcome and welcome back. This is Christina with Shhh Art Online. Today we're back working in Worlds Within Worlds on the Serpent image, and I'm going to show you how I have been doing the Serpent. So I left this little area over here to work on and show you guys how I'm doing it, but ultimately this is how the rest of the picture looks, so I'm just following the theme across. I'm going to zoom in really nice and close on this. So I'm going to use PC 1089 Pale Sage, and I'm trying to do this as quick as possible, so I'm not going to be as neat as I usually am because I color pretty slowly, which is why I decided to do the rest of the image prior to shooting this video. So I'm just doing that in the middle where I think the lightest area would be. And then I'm going to use PC 992 Light Aqua, and for now I'm just going to bring that in a little bit from the sides. I will darken this area up quite a bit as I move on. So where all these little hash marks are, I'm figuring that that is where the shadows and the deepest areas should be, and I want to also go ahead and try to make it look a little 3D-ish and not so flat. I'm also going to use 1026 grade lavender, and I'm going to pull that in a little bit at the edges of that like teal bluish area. Bring that into the pale green. Sorry, no, I'm not using the exact names, but essentially that's what I'm going to do for now. Then I want to come into here and I'm going to do this area here. So I'm going to use my darkest color first, which is PC 105. And I'm going to go around this outside area here and I'm lightly going to pull it in. So I'm only going to go in a little bit because I'm going to add other colors. This area up here is going to be really shadowed. So I'm going to put this a little darker here, but I may even add a little bit of black to those areas to make this pop a little bit more. I just want to get that down on paper. Color on paper is always an important thing to do. Right, now I'm going to come in with PC 905 Aquamarine, and I'm going to go right into that area and pull it down even more. So I'm going to kind of like double the distance there. And then right in the middle in that swatch, I'm going to come back in again with that 1089 Pale Sage. I'm just going to put a little bit of that there. And then I'm going to take the lightest color that I had, which is the 992 Light Aqua. And I'm going to lightly go over that just like a little bit. Not in all the spots. I'm going to leave a little bit of that yellow, but not a lot. Or, I'm sorry, that Pale Sage. And I'm going to kind of go back out to the outside. I'm going to come back in now with my darker color, which is the 105 Cobalt Turquoise. I'm going to darken that up a little bit on the outside again. I'm using a fair amount of pressure this time just because I'm trying to kind of not make this video a super long video. Usually I would take my time and slowly build up the layers, but I feel like this time I'm just going to go ahead and lay it down a little bit thicker. The more you lay it down, the thicker you lay it down, the harder it is to kind of blend it out by hand. So I usually don't lay super quick layers down. I usually build up my layers slowly because it makes it easier to blend them. But again, I'm kind of being a little more heavy-handed than I usually would. Pale green and pale sage, which is 1009, and now my latest color again, which is the 992. Now you can either blend it by taking this 992 and kind of starting at the outside and working your way in and just building it up and blending it that way, but I'm going to take it easy on myself and I'm going to use a blending pencil. So 1077. Start on the outside, and I'm going to blend the darker color right into the lighter color on this one. Now usually I would work on these scales and do them individually and make them really pop, but I think I'm going to use some stickles or some embellishments to help with that, instead of taking the time to one by one try to shade each and every one of those scales. If you wanted to do that, you may want to not blend it with a blending pencil. You might want to blend it by hand, because I think it would be a little difficult to not blend out your shading on each of these tiny scales if you chose to do that. Also, you wouldn't want to try to add it after you've blended it out, because it's probably not going to, it's going to be really hard to accept color, to accept more color, especially if you're pressing down with any force on the blender. So now I'm going to come back in here on the underside, and I'm going to add a little of the PC 1005 right at the edge to kind of tie this area into the underbelly here. I'm not going really far, like just kind of using the tip of my pencil there. And then I'm going to do that a little bit on this side, just right at the very edge. This area is going to be pretty dark, so I'm going to kind of like just bring it down a little bit. Give that a little bit of a shadow there. Again, I'm kind of following what Kerby's already laid out with all the little hash marks he's doing. I'm going to come in here now with the PC 992, and going to be a little bit more heavy-handed than I was the first time, and pull that up a little bit. And come on this side and do the same thing. I'm going right into that line that I made there, the darker line, and I'm kind of pulling that color down. Going to come in with that purple color, that 1026. And I'm going to pull some of that purple down into the little lines that go down as well. And this is kind of washing, the color of this is washing out what I'm actually seeing in person. So when I get done, I'll hold this book up real quick and show you what it looks like. And again, I'm taking my blender pencil, 1077, and just a little bit. I'm not really blending this area out. It doesn't need it. I'm just blending it a little bit. So that's what it looks like. All right, for this area right up here, I'm going to be using these three colors. PC 140, and that's Eggshell. PC 947, Dark Umber. PC 941, Light Umber, and then I'll probably add a little bit of black too. So first thing I'm going to do is take the PC 947 Dark Umber, and I'm going to put a line right off the body area. A shadow line there. I'm going to build off that line. Alright, then I'm going to come into areas like this where it looks like it's a little bit indented from the other areas. And I'm going to go ahead and add that 947 in there. In here. A little bit in there. Come over here. Put a little bit here. Bring that one all the way down. This spot right here. This little part that's behind. This looks like it would be behind that. And then this spot here, you can see that it's going to be in front. So I'm going to go ahead and behind that, put that darker brown there. This area right here. And then right here. I haven't completely decided what I'm doing with his face yet. So we're going to put the darker right there, and then these two areas right here. I might come back in with this same color here around this area and use this color, but I haven't completely decided yet. So bear with me, guys. We'll figure it out together. Now I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to want to give the area on the outer sides here, a little bit of depth. So I'm going to go ahead there. I'm not even sure I want to do it on every one per se, just kind of throw a little in. Sorry, I forgot about that spot right here. I just want to add a little bit. I don't want it to be like, you know, all one color. Probably add just a touch in there. And then this I'm going to pull up a little, and this I'm going to pull down. Now I'm going to go in here with my 941 Light Umber, and I'm just going to go up from that mark there, blend upwards. Then anything that's got a bunch of lines where you haven't colored yet, I'm going ahead and adding a little bit of this in there too. So I didn't want it as dark as the darkest area there, but I do want to put some color there. And I think what's going to wind up happening is this part of the fins, I guess that's what they are, not quite sure, but this part of the fins is going to be darker than the rest of the body going down by just a little bit, and I'm okay with that because I really want to bring attention to the front. And then this area doesn't have any brown, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that in there. Some there. And then I'm going to go in with my 140 cream. And I'm going to blend right into those areas that I did, but I'm not going to bring that cream all the way down into the darker brown. And I'm using a little bit of a heavy hand here. Again, I would usually take my time and layer this up a little bit more, but my normal coloring is on the slow side, and I feel like this is already going to be a long enough video. So instead of building up the layers, I'm kind of putting them down heavy-handed. If you'd like to build up the layers, then that's probably the best way to do it. But I'm being heavy-handed to speed the process up. So now I'm going to go back in again with that 941, and I'm going to just kind of pull that color off a little bit more. Again, pull it up from that darker line. Anywhere you think it needs to be just a little bit more vibrant, it looks a little flat, just go ahead and add a little bit more color. I might even come back in here again and use the dark umber in some spots. Go back over some of the areas that I've already done. Probably exactly what I'm going to do. 947. Alright, now if you want, you can choose to blend this out with your blending pencil. I did not do that anywhere else. I left it the way it was because I kind of like the fact that it's giving it a little bit of character, so I'm going to leave it. Now for the face. I think I'm going to go ahead and just carry on this color scheme that I did here and put it in the face. So we're going to go with PC 105 Cobalt Turquoise. And I'm going to come here where the darker areas are, and I'm just going to throw that in there. Right above his eye, I'm going to darken that up a little bit. And then there's these lines here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that dark area there. And right here there's a succession of lines. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the darker and again guys, I'm being kind of heavy-handed. I usually would color much lighter than this. It's like 3 layers I'm putting on at once instead of 1. And then I think what I'm going to do is go with the Pale Sage 1089. I'm just going to put a little bit of light color here and there, and then on the head area where I think the most light would hit. And I'm kind of, again, just using the lines that he has as where to start and end with that. You know, the further out the scales, the further out the scales are, or where they're missing, is kind of where I'm throwing that. Now I'm going to go in with my next lightest color, 992. And I'm going to color down below where it was the darkest at. I don't know why I'm doing that, I'm just doing that. I really want that to be a very enhanced shadow, so I guess I do know why I'm doing that. Sorry guys. Let's see how it turns out. This is my first sea serpent that I'm doing, so, and over here I'm going right over top of that lighter green. I want it to pop a little bit more. But when I go over that area, I'm going really light. I'm barely pressing down on the paper. And this area, I'm just kind of going over everything that I haven't already done. I'll add another color in here in a minute. Just kind of making this my overall base layer. And I'm not coloring nearly as heavy right now as I did with the darker color. Come down here, do the same thing. I'm going to come back in with my 905 Aquamarine now. And anywhere I put the really dark area, I'm just going to kind of on the outside blend that out a little bit. Sometimes I'm going right over that darker area. It's like here, just pull that down a little bit, kind of pull it up a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of wrap this around. See, the good thing is if you color light enough, I should take my own advice here, and you need to add another color, it's pretty easy to lay on top of that. But if you press really heavy and you need to change the undercolor, it doesn't work so well. Now this, I'm really coming off his eye quite a bit here, coming off that darker color. And then I'm going to really come over here. And then under his eye, pull a little in there. Alright, now I'm going to go back in with my second lightest color again, which was 992 Light Aqua. And I'm just blending up from that too. Not really heavy, I'm just kind of hand blending this instead of using a blending tool. Throwing some color in where I didn't have any. Trying to make sure I cover that white of the paper. Like that. Very, very lightly. I'm going to come in with some 935 black. And in these darkest areas, like right here, I'm going to add just a little bit in what would be the darkest of the darkest areas. So I'm going very lightly. I'm barely touching the paper. But this is probably one of the best blacks I've used out of any of my sets. It really has a lot of pigment to it, so you don't need a lot if you're just trying to darken the undercolor. So, and I may come back over these couple areas with the color was that? Turquoise cobalt, to kind of blend it in just a little bit more. And then in this spot right here in the middle of the nose, I'm going to make that really dark. Darken up that line there. And the pupil of the eye. And pull that line down that's right into this dark area, and I'm going to darken that up just a little bit. And then right here where the jaw meets, darken that up and pull it down into that. And then here too. Right. Now I'm going to go back in with the 105 turquoise cobalt. And I'm just going to, not at the darkest part that I did, but right after that, as I kind of fan that color out, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of this darker blue. And I'm using like a pretty heavy hand here. And then for giggles, I'm just going to go in with my 1089 Pale Sage. Just kind of tie anything that's left. Do another layer on that, kind of blend it into the surrounding area right there. Not really worried if the face is just a little bit different from the rest of the body, because when you look at the picture overall, I think it's going to look pretty cool. Alright, so I think I'm going to do the same way I did here. I think I'm going to do here. I'm going to start with my 947 dark umber, and I'm going to pull that up from these areas. Now these areas look to be highly shadowed, so I know I didn't go back through with the black yet, but I will. So I'm probably going to darken up, like, I'm probably going to darken up where it's in the darkest spot there. So I'll pull my black in, my 935 black, get it really dark in there and kind of like feather it out. So I'm kind of heavy-handed at the top here, and then as I come out into the rest of the dark umber, I'm going super light. I'm barely touching the paper, just kind of blending that black out. All right, and I'm not laying the black first because I really want that brown to be there, and then I want just to darken up the darkest areas of the brown. You could do it the other way, but every time you do something a little different, it changes the look of it. So if I lay the black down first, it's going to kind of be a little harder for me to get that dark brown color to show. So now I'm going in with the 935 black, making sure it's really black at the edge here where it meets, and then later over top that brown as it goes out. And then this area here, well, that would be pretty dark. Sorry, I know I already did that, but I never came back in and added any of the black yet. And then here's going to be a little darker. So I'm assuming with the lines really close the way they are, he wants those areas really dark. And then again, the 947, just kind of pulling that out. And anywhere he's got a lot of lines, I'm putting that 947. But as I come out like here, there's less lines, so I'm probably going to lighten that up and put the light umber there. So I'm just getting like what's closest to that area for now that's going to be overlapping. So I'm looking at this more like a shadow area. And then right here would be kind of like a shadow area. So I want to make it interesting, but I don't want to bring all that one color out. Now I'm going to come in with my 947 black, and under here there's going to be a lot of shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in that black there. And then here, just a little black here, barely touching the paper, just darkening that up a little bit. And then probably right here. So right where it's like would be touching that top layer, I'm kind of darkening it up under it like it's a shadow. I mean, it is a shadow, that's why I'm doing it, but so I don't want to do the whole thing. I'm kind of going in the shape that I see there. And then here. Alright, now before I add the middle brown, I'm going to go ahead and put the 140 eggshell. And I'm going to go over all the other areas that are white. And I'm going to bring this eggshell right down into this blue area, bluish green area that we did. I want it to blend together. I'm not going really far in there, just a little bit. And it's at this point where I should be sharpening my pencil, so bear with me because I haven't. So I'm hoping I don't color outside the lines. Alright, so I have my base layer of 140 cream on there, and now I'm going to go in with the 941 light umber, and just around these darker areas that I did, I'm going to blend some of that up into those other areas so it doesn't look like, you know, you just have a dark and a light, so there's some midtones in there. I don't want to cover the whole thing, I just want to kind of use this to blend off of that 947 and that black. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. In between those two darker colors there, throw some there. Right there was a couple lines and I had missed them, so I just went ahead and added that color there. Every once in a while bring it a little bit up onto those outer, I think they're fins, I don't know what you would call them. So they're not all the same color. And then that's what you have. And if you notice, you can still see like a lot of the lines there, so you can go ahead if you want and darken those up. So take your 947 and go back toward the front part of it like that. And then if you want to even lighten it up a little bit more on the outside, take your 941 and just kind of blend it forward. So you have like a transition. So you got your black and then your dark umber and then your light umber. Help cover those lines a little bit so they're not as visible. Again, I usually would color much slower than I am right now, but I want to make sure that this video isn't taking too long. same right here. Right. Alright, so I think on the inside of the mouth, I'm gonna try this. If it doesn't work, I'll switch to black. I'm gonna do the 105 cobalt turquoise again, and on the inside of the mouth, I'm gonna put this one. But again, I might go back over this with black, at least on some of the areas. I think that might be too light. But there is a lighter area right in here, so that color should stay in that area. So I'm going to go right behind that area with my black and really lightly go over that color that I just put down there. So you're still getting the sense that there's a little bit of that blue-green, but it's not like overwhelming. Alright, I just noticed we forgot this area right here, so I want to go ahead and do that real quick. I think I'm going to do the 141st eggshell. Go ahead and color it overall with that. Then just like we did up here, I'm going to take the 947 dark umber and I'm going to pull that down from the chin area, and then this area is going to be darker because there's a lot of shadow under there, so really throw that 947 in there. And then the 941 light umber. And 935 black. Just kind of. Alright, for the tongue, I'm going to use 925 Crimson Lake. And I'm just going to pull that in the darker area on the tongue right there. And then I'm going to use 923 Scarlet Lake. And I'm going to do the rest of the tongue with that lighter red. Usually I would put a little more detail, but these spots are really, really small, so there's only so much you can do with it when they're that small. And then I'm going to take my 140. I'm going to take my 140 and on all the little teeth there, I'm going to try to put a spot there, but it's kind of difficult to do that because the teeth are super, super small. Alright guys, now I'm going to take the 935 black, and I have forgot we didn't add highlights. So again, or shadows. So we didn't add shadows. So I'm going to go back in really lightly over top of that blue. I'm going to put just a little bit of the 935 black over it. I'm not pressing down hard, I'm just lightly doing it. And then right under here, I'm going to again bring that black in just a little bit there too. Like that. And now I think I'm going to take 920 light green, and I'm just going to put a little bit of that in the eye there. You can even, after you do the light green, just add like a touch of the 105 cobalt turquoise, just a little bit at the top. Alright everyone, I went ahead and added just a couple more things. I added a little bit of these stickles. I think the color is cool green, and I randomly put them on the paper, so I just did random dots. I didn't do like an all over coverage. to help give it a little bit of sparkle in places. So, and I only did it where like the scales would be. And I did get a little on the face too. I also then put some of these Perlen drops. I put it on his eyes and then right where like the waterfalls are to help give that a little bit more of a watery effect. I don't know if you see what it does there. So it makes it look like actual liquid is on the paper. And then in a couple of these water drops down here, I put some of that. And then again, it's not really going to pick up. Did it over his eyes. So here is the completed finished image. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. If you like what you've seen, please hit like and subscribe. Turn on your notifications so you're told each and every time I post a new video. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, color happy, and remember, shh, it's our little secret.